Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to another episode of Couch Coaches. I'm John Lazaron and I'm joined by my good friend here, Richard Villaletti, the bandwagon conductor. Richard, New Zealand is on fire for the Warriors at the moment, bro.
Choo, 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 choo. Can you hear that? It's the bandwagon just doing laps of our beautiful country. You saw the Mexican wave. The bandwagon just doing a laps of Mount Smart. But the Waz fever is well and truly taken over the country. And I don't know about how you feel about it, John, but as a proud Warrior supporter who's been through some dark days, it's a pretty surreal sort of feeling. Just seeing the Warriors everywhere, seeing up the Waz. It's just on the tip of everyone's tongue, and I'm loving it.
Oh, mate, never in my many years since 1995 as a Warriors supporter have I seen the hype so big. I mean, would you even know that there's a Rugby World Cup going on at the moment, the way things are going?
No, you really wouldn't know. And even that, I got up for that game on the All Blacks game on Saturday morning. It was a bit of a, just as expected. And then, all the talk was about, the Warriors and how they're going to go. And then, since then, it's just, it's crazy, I mean, obviously last time we made the final, the grand final that in 2011, that was during the World Cup. But because the World Cup was in New Zealand and we were obviously the clear favourites, I feel like there wasn't this much attention on the Warriors then. But this time round, they're playing some great footy. They've finally put on that polished performance that you talked about. We had that sort of running joke for a few weeks where we couldn't quite see that polished performance. Was that performance polished enough for you, John?
It was brilliant. It was immense. It was very, very clinical, very slick. And just going back to going back to the Waz fever thing, sort of thing. I just said Waz, yes, I did. Let me just make that clear. It's good to see that even the Australians are jumping on board the bandwagon now. Like you see a lot of shows, podcasts, etc. A lot of like the footy show. What else? I can't remember what it's called. I think it's the 9 footy show where they got their own footy show as well. They're all beefing up the Warriors and Broncos game, especially the Warriors. I mean, again, would you know that there's a World Cup going on, and would you know that there's another preliminary final going on? Because you don't hear a lot of noise about the Panthers and Storm game. It's all about the Warriors Broncos game at the moment. It's the biggest game in town.
It's the talk of town, yeah. I think all I've heard about the Penrith game is that the Penrith CEO's upset that that the Broncos are getting a home ground at Suncorp, a home game at Suncorp, and Penrith have to travel to Homebush for their home game at at the core stadium. But it's surreal. You would have thought with I suppose the fact that the Storm have sort of just been sneaking in and the Penrith have been looking pretty clinical. Maybe a lot of people have made up their mind on how that game's going to go. I personally haven't. I think the Storm, you can never discount. You can never just.
They've still got something to give, right?
You can never put a line through the Storm. They're just too got too good of a system. But it's crazy. You just so many years. So like Matty Johns the other day was talking about whether they should move the grand final to earlier in the day if the Warriors make it. People are already talking about that. Where this is a team that came second to last season and has had a real horrible run the last few years. So I mean, it's got to be one of the biggest turnarounds in recent sport. Like sports that we follow. You can think of. Because
both sides.
Yeah.
Broncos were pretty down, the low end of the ladder last year as well. So they've both made an amazing turnaround to both make the top 4. Both in scintillating form. But going back to Brian Fletcher, do you actually agree with his comments? Because when I first heard his comments, I was like, I get where he's coming from. The NRL have control of the finals, but for some reason they seem to love Brisbane staying at Suncorp no matter what. They gave them a lot of home games during the regular season, and they just let them continue on there. And I see his point. If they have to move to a bigger stadium in a neutral stadium, why can't Brisbane as well? But where would you put them though? But
it's not. I mean, I think it's dumb. It's if the Broncos are playing, if their home ground was a smaller stadium and they moved up to Suncorp, maybe you can understand it. But I mean, Penrith fans are going to travel. What is it, half an hour? It's not like and I know I'd probably be upset if the Warriors had managed to have a preliminary final and it ended up at Eden Park, I'd be a little bit gutted about it. But I mean, it's still going to be, you know, a massively. They're not playing against another Sydney team. You know, think back to when the Warriors were minor premiers in 2002 and had to go play the Roosters, you know, in Sydney. You know, as you know, in the grand final. You know, so that's just that you have a right to be upset. You know, the Warriors had a right to be upset about that. But nah, I think they need to just get off their high horse and just I don't know, put their heads down and play some good footy this week, Penrith. But it's a good time to be alive.
Well, the thing is, I mean, from what I'm hearing is that NRL are giving away free tickets at the moment because they're not filling up their stadium, which is a hard thing to do. It's like 80 to 90,000 people. Capacity. Yeah, so it's a big stadium. It's a big stadium to fill, and apparently they're just not selling out. I think they thought they probably would have sold out really easily, but they're not. Apparently they're giving away tickets for that game. But Suncorp, on the other hand, sold out. And if Suncorp was an 80,000 capacity seat stadium, I still think that they would have sold out. I think Warriors fans are traveling from afar, from here, from the land of the long white cloud. They're going over, they're jumping over, and all the Kiwis. I think there are lots of Kiwis up in Queensland, so I think they'll be all there as well. So I just think that I'm surprised that they're not selling out their stadium, but it is a bit of a mammoth effort considering it's 80,000, 90,000 people. So
yeah, I think as we said before, the hype's definitely on the Warriors Broncos game. So maybe if that was the game that was in Sydney and the hype was there, or if it was like a Sydney team versus another Sydney team, maybe they'd sell a few more tickets. But I mean, how quickly did the Warriors Broncos game sold out? I felt like it was, almost once the tickets were on sale to the public, it was almost instant. I saw on all over the Warriors fan pages on Monday night, people sharing the codes and all that. So you love to see it. It's great.
Oh, fair enough too. I mean, they actually the Broncos, they had first dibs at it, and I thought, for a finals game, considering it was a finals game and it's controlled by the NRL, why did they get first dibs? Wouldn't it have been fair to let their members have a go at it at the same time as the opposition members have a go at it? I thought that was a little bit unfair, because how do Broncos members get a go at it first when it's not actually technically their home ground?
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of Warriors fans, and it won't quite be the the atmosphere of what Saturday night was. Like, oh man, that was just seen at the end of the game, the Mexican waves and everyone singing the team song, and just you saw family, parents with their little kids, like everyone's dancing along, everyone having a good time. Like, oh, that just looked like that's probably one of the most upset I've been watching a game, just being like, I wish I was there, like Oh, it would have been such a good game to watch as well. Like, it was just like they were just on fire, the crowd was going crazy. Oh, goosebumps.
Going crazy. Yes, crazy. And I saw also a Facebook post where Qantas apparently are letting Warriors fans buy tickets to go over to Australia for the grand final, and if they don't make it, you can have a not so much a return of your fund, not like a refund, but you can get credit back. So they're giving they're giving Warriors fans options. But
have you booked yet?
No, I haven't. One of those things I'll be doing on this weekend will be to have my in New Zealand sort of website ready, having the button there ready to go, because I'm sure, but I won't be the only one. But I still haven't heard anything from in New Zealand. I mean, in terms of in the public sector, where they, in that public forum, where in those sort of social media channels, etc., where they haven't said that they're going to put some extra flights on. I hope they do, because if they don't, it's a missed opportunity.
There'll be something. Surely, I don't know if you saw, there was they had a special flight that went up from Christchurch, I think, last weekend. Yeah, I just saw a little snippet of it on social media. Aaron Gudenbill sort of hosted it, and he was shaking everyone's hand and the atmosphere looked amazing. It looked like everyone was, they'd been on the piss since 10 a.m. in the morning. A few of the boys looked, but everyone was kitted out. Like, there was some diehard Wires fans there. So if they do have something like that, and you get on, and you're able to get on, John, I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. I've booked my flights. I'm on the way. I'm sure there'll be a few other rogue Warriors fans on my flights, both to and from. So I'll make sure that either way, whether we make it or not, I'll be wearing my jersey with pride. probably at the game as well, I think.
Yeah, no, well, apparently the Air New Zealand CEO was on that flight. So apparently,
Oh, really?
apparently, I mean, can't confirm, but apparently he was on that flight. So surely, I mean, like with the way, up the wires, up the Warriors, fever has taken over New Zealand. He's obviously would have caught a sniff of it, just like everybody has. Surely he will be on. I mean, their marketing team must be putting something together, because if they're not, they're just a bunch of dumbasses, stupid idiots if they don't do something about it. Because I mean, I guess it's not as easy. It's easier said than done, right? It's not as easy to put something. We get all these fights, and especially when you maybe limited with planes, etc. And I totally get that part, but surely they can make something happen. Surely,
there would have been. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's been conversations about whether we can't do it. They probably don't want to. Yeah, I mean, there's no point announcing it early before. Yeah. But I'd say if I were you, I'd be keeping my, I'd be having my alerts on Saturday night and Sunday morning for.
I will be
anything to pop up.
I will be definitely. That's for sure. But
for me now, I think I mean the worst situation would be probably Broncos Penrith final, but if the Warriors were there, even if I don't mind the Storm, I'd probably support the Storm over the Broncos. So if the Storm could cause an upset.
We all know your hatred for the ponies there. So we all know. You don't have to tell us, or we know. But well, let's just go into the games. Like, you're going to have to go on talk to us about the first final that was between the Storm and the Roosters, because I was in Sydney at the time. I was at a family wedding, and it was 35-degree heat over there. I was boiling to the point of exhaustion, and can't use my Sky Sport Go app, Sky Sport Now app, sorry, in Australia. So couldn't, secretly watch the game under the table, which I would have done if I was able to. So if my family is listening to this right now, apologies, but not sorry. So tell us about that game, mate.
Well, it was another sort of. I think I had a feeling it would be quite close. I think when we talked about last week, I think Charlie, we had Charlie Gibb on last week, and I think he was saying 13 plus, pretty sure, for the Storm. But I just had a feeling that even with the Roosters with a few big outs, I felt like they were maybe, they had enough in them to keep it close. At one point, it just felt like the sort of Storm were going to run away with it. They scored early. I think they were up 10-0. And then they just kind of took their foot off the gas, and the Roosters played themselves into it. They had 4 of their back 5 out, and then it sort of just sums up the Roosters' culture and their team, is that they're a tough team and gritty, and they kept in that game, and they should have won that game. They were up 13-12 with a minute and a half to go. Storm stuffed up the opportunity. They were looking for a field goal, and then they actually made too much ground, so Munster was sort of playing it from his 10-meter line, probably 15 meters out from the touch. He can't do a field goal from there, and he just put up a Hail Mary to the corner, and it was a beautiful kick, perfectly weighted, perfectly placed.
Was that Warbrick that scored that try?
Yeah, Warbrick come in and an amazing take from him, considering the circumstances. Like, I think at the time I sort of watched it, I was like, that's a good try. And then you saw the replay. I can't remember who the Storm Roosters winger, he pretty much had the ball. So he'd done really well defensively. And Warbrick basically just popped it out of his hands and went over to score. So absolute scenes. And I mean, kudos to the Roosters for the way they played this game and the way they finished off this season. No one would have had much given them much any hope of making the 8. Probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, and maybe a bit more than that, maybe 6-7 weeks ago. But they made it, and they probably a knock on away from playing in the preliminary final. So they'll take a lot out of how they finished the season and that game. And then Melbourne, I think just as I said before, that they're too good to sort of write off, and I feel like a lot of the media maybe has. But it was a great game of league. It was sort of like it wasn't as exciting as the Warriors game. It was, you know, it was one of those niggly kind of tough games. There's quite a few errors, but you know, 13-12. It's always going to be. It keeps it exciting.
Yeah, well, it was definitely a good end to the season, like you said, to the Roosters. But at the same, in saying that, very happy that they're gone, because it was they to me were a side that just like, I don't like playing the Roosters personally. Even when we were in a hot form, when we played the Roosters when they're actually down.
Would you rather play the Roosters over any of the other teams left in the comp at the moment, or?
Probably more. If I was to choose between the Roosters and Penrith, I'd probably choose the Roosters. But I'd rather play, like, for example, Storm.
Rather play Roosters Storm.
Or I'd rather play the Storm or the Broncos. And I know that's like people are going to say, "What the heck?" But the thing is, I just thought that the Roosters were doing pretty well towards the end of their season, and they're a team that have traditionally been hard for us to beat. You know, like I said earlier in the start of this year, where we lost 20-0 to them at Mount Smart. And we were in like on a winning streak, and they were, you know, we all know what they were doing at that time of the year. So yeah, they're just the team hard to beat. But I'm glad they're gone. And I agree with you. I don't think you should write the Storm off just yet. I think they can still do the job, and if they do, it will make it very interesting for the grand final. Let's just go into the most important game now. Okay, now we've got that one out of the way. Let's go to the more important game. Warriors versus Knights. And, bro, I honestly thought the game would be a lot closer than that. But then looking back at it, I just think that the Knights, the game that they played against the Raiders the previous week just took a lot out of them, and they had no answer. And I just thought we were smooth, we were clinical. The passing was on point. And I just think that, yeah, we just took the game away from them. And especially by taking Ponga out of the game as well, they had no answer. And brilliant, just brilliant. And I was so ecstatic. I was sitting in where was I sitting? Near the Rocks in Sydney, so near the Harbour Bridge, in a bar with my brother-in-law. Had my Warriors jersey on, surrounded by Aussies, surrounded by Knights fans and stuff. Oh man, but did I love it? I loved it, and I loved it when we were scoring. I was just yelling out Warriors. I was giving it to them, but in a nice, nice bantery way. Nothing more than that. I don't do that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was really good. It was really good, and just to feel that win, just to get that win, like you said, I was very emotional, because not only did we win the game to get into this to where we are now, it's how we did it. It's how we won the game, and you know, like, I know that we're not a one-man team. We're a team, and everyone has their play in the game. But you know, you can see the difference that Sean Johnson makes to the side. Especially when he's on form. Yeah,
he was. He just brought a bit of calmness and just a lot more shape. I think is a word to, you know, like, just I think it was that first try was a perfect example of it. You know, you know, maybe the writing was on the wall when Mazu dropped that ball 3 minutes into the game, and then we went and scored from that set. But you know, just it was that perfect sort of the ball. Going at the right, out the back to Chance, and then sort of Bradman Best and Mazu, who was defending on that wing, wasn't he? The two of them just, you know, Mazu freaked out and kind of, he stayed on the swing, which he did, but Best almost kind of went out as well because he thought the ball was going to DWZ. And then, he just kind of had some really nice touches, didn't overplay his hand as well. There was a few times where he was running it a bit. I was sort of like, "Oh, come on, mate, calm down." You know, we almost wanted you to be like a Cooper Cronk in the what was that, 2018 was it final? You know, when he had the broken shoulder, and he just, you know, it was one of the great grand final performances. Just literally there as a general, just telling people what to do. So I mean, even if we have Johnson doing that on, you know, this week in the grand final, I'll take that. But there was just great performances around the park as well. I mean, it obviously helped. You know, there was that what was it, 18-0 after 15 minutes or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
The Knights had a 0% completion rate at that point. So.
Yeah, they're all 16-0 up, I think they were. But honestly, you can see the difference between the game against the Knights and the game previously against the Panthers. For example, when Johnson was out, I'm not trying to bag the halves here, but you could see the difference where they were, like with Dylan Walker, etc. They were going more side to side in their running game attack. So we know. So then what happened is that when it finally got to the center or in the winger, they were pretty much isolated, and the defense had them up. They were just manning up one, man on man. Whereas you see with Sean Johnson, he creates the space. He gives space, breathing space for his fullback to come around in the center and winger to be in play. So, for example, he doesn't just goes wide. He goes a little bit wide, then he straightens up. He straightens up the play, giving a chance for the decoy runner to come in and someone to be out the back, and then for them to have space to pass out as well. That's where I see that Johnson does a difference. That's where I see when I say the word clinical, that's where I see it. Like the forwards, set the benchmark. They go up and do the hard yards. Noah Blake, Barnett, they've all been doing an awesome job getting up there. And then when it comes time to attack, they get the ball. Johnson creates the space, and he creates the space by going a little bit wide, but then straightens up, giving a chance for the defender to draw on the defender. Once the defender's been drawn in, he gives it to the next player. Decoy runners go, and there's just space, and that's why they were scoring some beautiful tries out there. And they've been doing that all year, which is awesome. And even the Broncos, I think Darius Boyd came out on a post saying, I saw social media saying that he knows that, we know that Johnson's going to attack our left edge. So we're going to try, and shut him down. So obviously they'll be trying to shut him down, just like, we'll probably be trying to shut down Reece Walsh. And that's going to be an interesting. I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see what happens there. I mean, Reece Walsh had an awesome season. I think he's a great player, but I just hope we just smash him. Hope he rub his mascara eyes into the ground. So yeah.
I think I was a little bit worried last week about how our left edge was going to contain Ponga, but you would have hardly even known that Callum Ponga was playing that game. So they've obviously and Ponga and like Reece Walsh, there's a lot of similarities between their game with their slipperiness and their speed. So whatever they did last week, just keep that up. They'll obviously know, a lot of the guys know Reece Walsh well, and they'll know about his game. They know he's pretty short-tempered, so I'm sure there'll be a little bit of argy-bargy going on. Be rude not to. Reece Walsh is very quickly becoming one of the up there with Luai as the most arrogant player in the comp, isn't he? And he can back it up. He's an absolute phenomenal.
Yeah, it's hard to beat Luai in that area, but he's a better footy player than Luai is. Oh,
I
think so. Luai's just the grub of the grubs, to be honest, in my eyes.
If that left edge can just do what they did and contain Reece Walsh, there's a lot to be excited about. How good with both the centres as well. I thought they both had probably close to their best games of the season. I mean, Berry was a bit slow in the first half, but his second half was phenomenal. He forced that penalty when it was getting a bit close, and that kind of turned the game. And then that try he scored was superhuman, like the strength of the man. I didn't know he had it in him. And then I thought Pompey really nice ball to Montoya to score. He was great defensively, and I don't know. Has Pompey still played he must have still played every minute this season, has he?
Yeah, I think so. I think with Pompey, what I liked about him, and I think he's been doing this all season, but we just don't really notice it because people seem to forget, neglect the good stuff that he does sometimes, and people seem to just focus on on things that he does that people criticize. But I think that with Pompey, for example, if you watch him when he carries the ball, he actually makes quite a few post contact meters. He doesn't just get stopped right there. He actually seems to go forward a bit as well. Even if it's just a 1 meter or two, it's still getting on the momentum because they still have to bring him down and stuff like that, which is good. So he did well defensively, just like you said. And Montoya, I think everyone had a stellar game. And
speaking of post contact meters, who was that? Nickel Clodstedt had 101 of them from his 297 meters run.
Wow,
so
was that post contact? Just post contact,
yeah.
Far out.
For a fullback, that's impressive, eh?
Yeah, well, I think see the difference, because this week when you line up, Reece Walsh against Chance, the big difference between them is Reece Walsh. We all know that he's super quick, he's lightning, and he does when he gets the ball and he's in space, he's hard to bring down. Like he's just proven that all season. One weakness for me with Reece Walsh is his ability to make a lot of mistakes. And also his defense, because I've seen clips, for example, where people just run over him and he just can't tackle and not trying to give him crap because I mean, compared to he's trying to tackle massive guys compared to his size. But I think the only reason why I'm bringing that up, it's nothing to do with mocking him or anything. It's more to do with there's somewhere that all the Warriors will need to manipulate. Like they're going to have to use their big man over Reece Walsh. You know what I mean? Because I think that's where they can get over him and stuff. But they still need to, on attack, it's a different story. He's sublime on attack, and that's where we need to shut him down. And it'll be hard because he attacks the right edge as well. And our left edge hasn't been the greatest all year. But if they can pull on another performance like they did on Saturday, then I've got the faith in them that they can do it again.
Yeah. Just get you likes of Fanoa Blake, you get Jackson Ford, get bloody Tohu Harris. I mean Tohu Harris, man, how good was he the other day? That was one of the best performances I've seen from him in a Warriors jersey. I had the stats written down somewhere. 228 meters and 39 tackles. Second in the team count for tackles. Your boy Jackson Ford, number one tackles. Another great game from him as well. 45 of them. So it was just a pretty complete performance. And I don't think you could say anyone had a bad game. I mean, it's always good when that's the case. Dylan Walker coming on and doing, going for that the late field goal attempt.
No, I'm glad they took Johnson off. I remember sitting with my brother-in-law saying to him, once we were like, had a 20-point gap there, I was just like, okay, I reckon they should take Johnson off. Not to be sound, or arrogant, but they should take him off, especially if there's no point in keeping him on. Once the game was safe, they did. I mean, I think he only had 7 minutes or 8 minutes off the field, but it was good. It was good that they did that, and to keep. Because I thought, the Knights' second try was a forward pass. When I watched it live, it looked forward to me. I couldn't believe it. But again, referees just give the try because the NRL bunker cannot rule on it, which is Anyway, but we'll just forget about the Knights game now.
I'd completely forgotten about that. I remember at the time I was like, pass. I was watching it with a game with my parents and my in-laws and my wife and her sister and fiance, and not that many big Warriors supporters amongst them, but everyone could see that I was getting excited, and I even got a couple of up the wires from my mum, so that was a real highlight of the night.
Oh, nice. No, because nice, because after that game, me and my brother-in-law we went to a nearby restaurant and bar on the rocks there in Sydney, and for my mum's birthday, and so we were walking down there, and I had a bag with me to get changed, because I was going to a restaurant. I had my shorts and Warriors top on, but I decided to keep it on for a little while because I just wanted to. I was so proud, I was so happy that I needed to go through Sydney and walk through it and let everyone know that I'm a Warriors fan and that they need to see who won, and I was proud. And people in the street were coming up to me saying, up the wires, up the wires. They were doing it from everywhere. Don't know if they were Warriors supporters, have no clue whether they support the Warriors or not, but they were still chanting out up the wires. Yeah.
The movement. I love it.
I think that I think honestly, if you're an Aussie and your team is not in the finals, in the top four, in the last final four here, I think deep down they want the Warriors to win. I have a feeling. It's like you have a feeling that they will want the Warriors to win.
They're everyone's second favourite team, aren't they?
Exactly.
Sort of because they've never been that threatening. So
yeah. Well, let's continue looking at the games. How about we just stop for a second with the Broncos and Warriors, because we've got so much to talk about that. But Penrith, Storm, again, I totally agree with you. I wouldn't write the Storm off here. Penrith are just amazing, and they get the job done well. But I have a feeling. I don't know what it is. I just have a feeling the Storm are going to do. A Storm have got something up their sleeve. They didn't do. I don't think they. I mean, I didn't watch the game like I said, but just from little highlights and bits and pieces, it didn't look like they were that great. But I just have a feeling that they're just going to pull something out of the bag here.
Yeah, and it sounds like Penrith, from what like Luai's, sounds like he might play. So
yeah, he's back in the thing. Yeah,
it'll be a big in for them. I mean, it should be a fantastic game. Two of the sort of most successful clubs in the last sort of 10 years, probably. Obviously, Penrith going for the elusive three-peat, and the Storm they've lost a few players over the few years, but they've still got quality everywhere. And if those I'm not as Hughes, actually I haven't checked. Is Hughes named to play, or is he out?
He is, yeah. No, I think he is. He's in there. I think him and Luai have been named to start. I think.
Yeah.
I'll quickly check it now, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they've both been named to start.
Yeah, if he plays, it's huge. I mean, Tyrone was shout. I mean, you should have given him a shout out before. He scored a great try. Scored a great try early in the game. And actually he had a pretty good game on the whole, considering. But he's no Jerome Hughes. So if Hughes is playing,
Yeah, he is. He is, just confirming he is. Yep.
yeah, and there's some big boys in both packs, you know. So
Yeah.
we sort of talked about when we played Penrith, those likes of Fisher Harris and Leota, but obviously Melbourne have got quite a big fella on their team, and Nelson Asafa-Solomona. So I'm looking forward to some man-on-man contact in there, because I think there's going to be a few big hits, probably a few post-contact meters being picked up as well, I reckon.
He had a few words for. I watched an interview with him. He had a few words. I've met Nelson before as well, and he's a great guy. He's a great guy, but he always, he won't give anything away, when it comes to media. So he was just saying, "Oh, I'm just going to run at anybody." And I like his attitude towards that, because that's the only way you're going to win in terms of Penrith. But he also did say, because they were trying to mention Leota and Fisher Harris, and the good thing about what Nelson said was that he's got great respect for those guys, because obviously they all played in the Kiwis together. Yeah. So he's got great. It was good to show that he's got respect, but on the field, it's going to be interesting to see if it gets all fiery, if it gets all fiery in there. But I mean, off the field, they're great mates, obviously. But it's going to be interesting to see. But I mean, I'm actually really torn about who to pick in this game, to be honest. Like I said, I wouldn't write a Storm off, but I don't know if I would pick them as the winner yet. I mean, I would still say Penrith has got the slight, just the advantage in my eyes, but wouldn't write Storm off.
Yeah, I mean, just having a look at the the odds for this game, and the bookies have very much written Melbourne off. They're paying $4.35 head to head.
Wow.
So the point start must be about 14.5, maybe. Sorry, I'll just have a quick look. But yeah, so they've obviously. I mean, I'll take a plus, whatever I can get on the Storm for this, because it's still finals footy. It's still a good team. They've got providing huge plays. They'll so 12.5. Yeah. So
yeah. What are the odds of the Warriors game?
We're paying 370, 10.5 point underdogs. So also would love a piece of that plus. Yeah. Maybe a little head-to-head Melbourne into the Warriors. What would that be paying?
Well, do you think that
$16?
Yeah, how much?
$16 for a head-to-head multi Storm Warriors.
All right. Well, if you're listening to this, there you go. The Villa laddie's got your odds right there. But yeah, I mean, I think. Who do you think is going to have more? There's going to be more pressure on the Broncos or the Warriors? Because I think the Broncos. People are expecting them to win. So do you think? I think there's more pressure on them rather than the Warriors. I think the Warriors are going to go out there and they're just going to play their hearts out, and hopefully it's not going to take a lot out of them, because again, Knights. I think that they just didn't have the energy. But I know we were good. But I read a comment where someone was saying the Knights played their grand final the week before against the Raiders. That's why they were so exhausted. And the Warriors played their grand final tonight, so it'll be the same. But I was just like, what a load of rubbish. It didn't even look like the Warriors went out of second gear to me. For me, they just played well. They didn't look like they were fatigued, or they were just in control of the game. And it wasn't like they were they unleashed their energy to try and win the game, because they were under pressure or anything. Because they were cruising, and I didn't think they even got out of second gear. And I think that so I thought that was just a stupid comment. But again, it was from a Brisbane Broncos supporter. So what do you expect? So because I've seen a lot of comments lately from Brisbane supporters, and they think they're going to annihilate us. They think they're going to annihilate us. But I just really hope that that we win, and not also just that we win, but I'm going to go on those fan pages and I'm going to give it to them. Couch coaches represent, I'm going to let them know. I'm going to give it to them. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll give them a good coaching on how to be a good fan, good NRL fan,
exactly.
of a good team. Yeah, I mean, they're a good team, and they've been playing some good footy. The Broncos, it pains me to say it. But yeah, I'd love nothing more. I'll never forget the moment where Darius Boyd had his gender reveal after they'd won the wooden spoon, 1 year. And it was just the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen watching rugby league. So, and I'll never forgive the Broncos for doing that. So, yeah, for that gender reveal, I think the Broncos deserve to lose this game. Come on, Wise.
Yeah.
Where do you think the game's? Is there any matchups you're most looking forward to, like, as far as sort of the importance of the game? I mean, it's hard to look past the number ones, isn't it? They've obviously both.
Yeah.
Warriors. Resource played the Warriors last year. Basically, Cameron George has come out and said that the only reason that we let him go was because we had Chance signed and ready to come fill that number one spot. So that's one I'm very much looking forward to.
Well, Reece Walsh actually came out saying, he still has a lot of love for the Warriors, gave him his chance, and he's and he even said himself, I know that all the boys will want to come at me, but yeah, he's like, I can't wait for it. He's like, I can't wait for it, but I can't wait for it as well. I can't wait for it as well because I reckon they will target him. They will target him because they will need to. And in answer to your question, not just the ones, the fullbacks, but the halfbacks, Adam Reynolds, Sean Johnson. That's going to be one. They both played against each other in the 2010. Was it the Toyota Cup or the Honda? The
Toyota Cup, yeah.
Toyota Cup was it? Yeah, the Toyota Cup under 20. They played in the grand final when the Warriors won that game. In the grand final when Reynolds was playing for Souths, and they played each other then. I saw a picture of them both playing, all babyface and everything. But that'll be another good matchup there. And I think also obviously the props, Anthony Blake, Payne in the Haas, Payne in my Haas, and Patrick Carrigan. And Patrick Carrigan and Tohu Harris. They're both similar players in a way. Very similar in terms of their skill set and what they do.
Workhorses. They'll be plenty of meat. I mean, Tohu Harris is just like you watch him play, and you just sort of you're like, he's going along doing his thing. It doesn't look like he's making a whole lot of meters or anything, but he is. I think he gets a whole heap of post contact meters.
Yeah,
like there was one point that game the other day, he had about 3 or 4 guys in him, and he was still, making ground. He's just so he doesn't he obviously looks strong, but he doesn't look like strong kind of guy. But he's a soldier, mate. He's a warrior. But what I mean is, by when I say warrior, he's a soldier. You know what I mean? He's the one that that's the reason why he's the captain. He leads, from the front. He just leads from the front.
Leads from the front and just does the job.
Every time he has like a niggle, grabs his knee, you're like, oh no, he's done his knee again, and then he just gets up and plays on.
He's the man. He's the man, Toru Harris. Total respect for him, and like you said, it doesn't look like that sort of like flashy player, but he just gets the job done. He gets the job done, leads from the front, and I'm just glad that he's fit for this game. So is Murata. I was actually worried when he came off, when he was like, carried off limping, or we had to carry him off, and he came back on. So I was like, didn't look good from the naked eye, but I mean, he was back on. So it was all good. And
Wade Egan, comes off again. I think that was more precautionary, but it's I love Wade Egan. He's such a good player, but it really worries me how often he comes off, and if we were to make it through this week in the grand final, if he ends up coming off after 5-10 minutes, it would be helpful to have someone who can play. Well, we've obviously got a few guys who can fill the role, but they're probably not out and out nines, are they? So it'd be interesting to see if Lussock's the 18th man again this week, isn't he? So
I think it's interesting because for me, Wade Egan has been like a really, really underrated player this year, and I think I've been seeing a lot of posts on social media where they call it Cam Smith. Gave him a big hyped him up a bit. Saying that he should be he should be up there for Dally M Hooker of the Year, and I was just like, wow, that's awesome. They hyped him up a bit from it, and in the comments that followed were like, yep, should he be Dally M Hooker of the Year? And just comments, yes, yep, yes, all from Australians and Kiwis and stuff. So it was just like, I think he's just an underrated player, and I think he's just done an awesome job. And I'm glad we've got him because we we've got a great spine, don't we? I think Tamara Martin played a lot better. Obviously he was a bit rusty first couple of games, but I think he's just coming into it right now, and I think we're just starting to get everything right at the right time.
Yeah,
well.
we are.
Yeah,
yeah. That spine's sensational the way they're playing at the moment. I mean, I think like look at clock stats. There's obviously some good fullbacks in the game, but he has to be thrown in there as one of the best in the game, I reckon, because he's just how far he's come this year. Like he was sort of almost forgotten about last. He obviously had that great season at Canberra back in 2019 when they made the grand final. He gone from the Warriors, and we were all like, oh, what's happened? Another Warriors left, and then the next season's in the grand final and playing Albiskin. But he's just gone from strength to strength this season. He's similar sort of to Joe Harris before. He doesn't Nicola Saint doesn't look like the biggest guy out there, but yes, as said before, like 301
biggest heart though.
Yeah, 101 post contact meters on the weekend. So yeah, if he can kind of do it, weave his magic and just make a bit of a hassle for some of those Broncos centers, I think we could. I can't wait for the game. This is going to be great. Unfortunately, I've got the kids this weekend. My wife's away, so I can't go out and watch the game. So I'm going to have to watch it. By myself probably. So I'll just be nervous wreck.
We'll be on the phone messaging each other. I'm pretty sure.
Walking around the lounge.
No, I mean, like,
wake the kids up.
Yeah, I mean, speaking, of Warriors fans and everyone going crazy about the Warriors. Well, I was very pleased to get some messages from my wife when I was in Australia. She was over here. She had to work as well, so she was over here while I was over there, and she sent me a message. She was like, she sent me a message of her watching the game. She watched the full game, even with me not here, and she put a story on Facebook saying, "Watching the Warriors, what has my hubby done to me?" sort of thing. And I wasn't too impressed. I think she could have taken a better picture, but she took one with Sean Johnson in it. Very surprised about that. But so when I was in Australia, I had family members come up to me, because I've got a big family at the wedding, saying, "So how come you didn't pick Sean Johnson as one of your hottest NRL?" I'm like, what the heck? How is this spreading? How is this news spreading? And it seems, why is everyone on my wife's side and not on mine? Like, yes, okay, he may be a good-looking man, but I just thought Nico Hines was the better-looking halfback. But I told you, like, he's the Fabio-looking guy.
Fabio, that's not Chico.
Yeah, no, Chico, Fabio. Yeah, the whole, the old, Fabio on shirt open on a horse on the cover of a romantic novel. That's Nico Hines right there. That's not Sean Johnson, but. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of stick for it. So, I don't know why. We did this like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I'm still, to this day, getting a lot of stick for it. For not picking Sean Johnson as one of the hottest NRL players, or my top 10. It was our top 13, wasn't it? Our 1 to 13.
Yeah, well, we did our top fives, and then we did our teams. Yeah. And he was in mine, so just for the record, So I got you back, Sagina. Yeah, sure. She'll like to hear that, but but I'm glad that Charlie had my back when we last week spoke about it. Remember when we spoke about it last week with Charlie Gubb, and he said to me, he had my back on that one, so I was really happy. I was really happy about that. So at least I got one person got my back there. But so just going back to the game, more controversy surrounding scheduling, etc. There's been a lot of noise around the Warriors playing at 7:50 p.m. 7:50 p.m. Australian time, which means 9:50 p.m. New Zealand time. The game will be over by midnight, and there was a lot of people saying this is this should be cut shorter. The game should be kicking off a lot earlier. I actually don't have an issue with it, to be honest. It might be a lot cooler as well, because I'm pretty sure it's pretty hot at the moment in Australia. So I might actually work in favour of having a bit of a cooler night. Yeah, I'm complete with you. I think like it's when those games always are, We're obviously lucky to get the 6 o'clock game the other week in Penrith, but it looked pretty hot. It looked hot as then, and then last week we had the home game at 6, which I thought that was it 6? Yeah, was that? Yeah, which I thought was kind of weird.
It was 4 p.m. Australia time. I remember it being 4 p.m. Yeah.
Obviously, it's like 4 p.m. or 8 p.m. of the sort of prime time for them, but Yeah, no, that's it's just like probably a whole lot of those bandwagon fans getting on John. Not us purists. We've sat
Nah.
through enough. We've stayed up till well past midnight watching enough.
Well, we're happy to be there.
NRL or Origin games over the years. So,
well, we're happy to be there, right? We're happy to be there. I mean, I totally get like
nothing on the when the Warriors played that. I don't want to talk about the game, but that Anzac game last year, where it was a Monday or a Tuesday night, and we had to stay up till 10 o'clock to start. I think the game started at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday night for us. It was unbelievable. I was like, surely you'd have that, like for that example, be like, okay, make the game a little bit earlier. Like you're literally scheduling this game as like you want to market it to the New Zealand audience, so you put on at freaking 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Like, that's silly, but no.
Yeah, the NRL marketing team needs a bit of a review and a big review themselves, because, like you said, they want to market the game to New Zealand, but every Anzac game is played in Melbourne every year. It's never switched over. That doesn't make sense to me.
And it's a late game, yeah. So
it's a late game, so it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah.
But I imagine that I suppose the Warriors just need to start competing more, and they have this season. Obviously, they didn't do too. Oh no, they didn't do too bad in that game. They were up by quite a bit this year, weren't they? In the Anzac game, they were up like 10-0 or something. But
yeah, they. I thought we were robbed, to be honest. I remember some things happening, like Remus Smith touching the ball in the air, and then they gave the try. Kind of like what happened with Melbourne Storm in the last week's game, where Harry Grant just touched the ball in the air. They look ridiculous. It looks so ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I think old mate was right there as well. It's not a great look. And you've got, you've got bunkers who can review that stuff. But I mean, that was a shocker. But there was a few bad calls that went against the Storm as well. Like it wasn't a well officiated game. And I mean, there's been a lot of talk about that in the media.
It was Klein, wasn't it? He's been relegated to the bunker for our game, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's not on the favors favorite list at the moment, but so I just think that, and also with the grand final, it's because there's been talk about the grand final saying like people were asking, should it go back to the traditional day game? That's when they used to have it, the grand final, and I used to like that too, because people were saying, it means I can invite people over and have a barbecue and stuff like that. You know what I mean? People were having all these comments about that. I actually agreed with it to an extent, but in this circumstance, if the Warriors make the grand final, I don't mind the game being played later on, because and purely for the fact that for the heat, because honestly, I was in Sydney. I was in the middle of Sydney just a few days ago for 5 days. It was burning hot. I couldn't stand it. Like I needed to. I wanted to go out and do things and stuff, but I was just getting so tired. The heat was making me so tired. And it was actually burning. Like you had to go and find shade everywhere because it was that hot. It was like, I think someone said to me that it was the last Tuesday was the hottest Tuesday the last Tuesday or Monday. Okay, I can't remember what day it was, but it was the hottest day in September that they recorded, and that's how hot it was. And I can't imagine playing in that kind of heat during the day. So it cooled down quite a lot over the night. It was still warmish, but nothing, it was nice. And if the Warriors are going to make it to the grand final, which they are going to, I would honestly rather play it in the evening, just for that pure reason, because I experienced the heat myself when I was over there.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be there, and I want more time to drink some VBs before the game. So, give me an 8 o'clock start, and then for that boat, we've got a boat trip all planned in for whatever time, 7 o'clock.
So, you're going that far, are you?
Pardon?
You're going that far? You've got a boat trip, all that sort of stuff sorted as well.
Yeah, we're getting a boat trip to the stadium, to and from. So mate, we're gonna be traveling in style, mate.
You know that you do know that, like, if we make it, I mean, I have to go over there. I'm jumping on that boat with you. I'm jumping on that boat with you. So
we have to talk. We have to talk to Captain Jack, I think his name is.
Captain Jack. I'm just letting you know that I'll have to pirate that ship, but I'm getting on that boat. But Yeah, so it's just I don't mind playing in the evening, honestly, because of the heat. Is just really, it was scorching heat. I'm not exaggerating. It was so terrible that I was with my brother as well on Tuesday when I came back. He came and saw me before I left to the airport, and he was saying to me, "Man, this is just too hot." Even they couldn't handle it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I know the faithful will stay up, and hopefully some of the bandwagons. I'm sure there'll be a few people if the Warriors do make it. I'm sure there'll be a few people starting late or working from home on the Monday.
Yeah.
The joys of working from home.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. Well, look, mate. You got anything else to mention? Because I think we've covered everything at the moment. But just for the sake of doing it, even though we sort of mentioned before, Storm, Penrith. What's your tip for everyone listening right now?
Oh, just the Storm plus. If I was going to have a bet, I'd be betting on that plus. What was it, 12.5?
You're gonna do that? Yeah, you gonna do that? Yeah.
Yeah, if I was going to have a bet, that'd be my bet. Because
Storm by what though? In the actual game, Storm by what?
I'll probably say Penrith, but only by like. I suppose maybe Penrith 1-12. Yeah.
Okay, so like you're tipping
about the same. Yeah.
Penrith 1-12. Okay.
Yeah.
I will go. I'll be the same. I'm Penrith 1-12 as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if Melbourne come and win 1-12. I wouldn't be surprised. That's what I'm trying to say. But I think Penrith will take it out. I mean, I already know your answer, but Warriors, Broncos.
Sorry, my wife's just asked if I want a cup of tea. Yeah, I'll have a normal cup of tea, thank you. With a little dash of milk, no sugar, thanks.
No VBs, right? Not yet. Not just yet.
No VBs, not yet. No, I'm saving them for next weekend.
Right.
Yeah, if I was to have a bet, I'd take the plus again. That Warriors plus 10.5, but just to take a little bit of insurance if it's close. But I mean, Warriors head to head at whatever price they were is great. I just think that there'll be heaps. There should be heaps of Kiwis there. There was a lot of Kiwis in Brisbane. They should be able to get a big crowd, and I think that. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk on Aussie media about it, but I actually saw today that Jerome Luai on his Instagram story, it was his first hot take from the finals was that the Wars were going to get up over the Broncos, and the second hot take was that Nathan Cleary is going to kick a field goal. So maybe throw them into a multi, and you could be a rich man.
Okay, I didn't see that, but okay, fair enough. I mean, don't really respect the guy, but yeah, okay.
Hey, okay. Yeah, respect him. He's got some good takes on.
I'm saying his take is pretty good. His takes are pretty good, but yeah, I'm picking Warriors 1-12. I'm believing that they're going to do it. I'm believing that they'll come through and they'll do the job. They'll get the W, and they'll send me on a plane back to Australia just after coming back from Australia. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. But
just book it now. Just book it now, bro. It'll be cheaper. Qantas had some cheap flights as well, didn't they?
Yeah, but I think they were going out from Auckland, not from Wellington.
Oh,
so,
okay.
And plus, like I said, if you booked it and if they lost, you don't get the money back. It's just you get it for credit, sort of thing. So I'd rather have it in New Zealand. To be honest, I love my in New Zealand. Had good experiences in New Zealand, so I'll stick with them. But for now, look, just before we go, I just want to say thanks to everybody for your support. We're getting more and more downloads on this podcast, so we know people are listening, so thanks a lot, and getting more subscribers now. So if you want to jump on our bandwagon, on the Couch Coaches bandwagon, go to YouTube. You can find us on Couch Coaches or Spotify. Are we on anything else, mate?
Apple and iHeartRadio, and most podcast platforms.
Yep, you'll find us there, and like I said, we're getting some great support and great feedback. So we just want to say thank you to all of you who listen to this and watch this. And we hope next week we'll come and see you, and with a big W for the Warriors going to the grand final. That's what we're hoping to be talking about next week, won't we, bro?
Yoo-hoo!
All right. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week after the Warriors beat the Broncos.
Come on, John. Give us one.
Up the Waz.
Up the Waz, baby.